Hello students, I am Sanjana Kavatigi, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AITM, Belgavi. Let us continue with the video lectures on storage area networks. In this video lecture, we shall study about the last chapter in module number 3, that is remote replication. So let us study remote replication and various methods of remote replication. So remote replication is the process to create replicas of information assets at remote sites, or you can say at remote locations. So remote replication helps organizations mitigate the risk associated with regionally driven outages resulting from natural or human-made disasters. So during the disasters, the workload can be moved to a remote site to ensure continuous business operation. Similar to local replicas, remote replicas can also be used for other business operations. So in this chapter, we will be studying various remote replication technologies along with three-site replication and data migration applications. Now we shall study various remote replication technologies. Remote replication of data can be handled by the host or storage arrays. Other options include specialized network-based appliances to replicate data over the LAN or SAN. We are also going to study an advanced replication option, that is three-site replication, in the further part of the video. First, we shall study host-based remote replication. Host-based remote replication uses the host resources to perform and manage the replication operation. There are two basic approaches to host-based remote replication. First one is the logical volume manager based replication, and then database replication via log shipping. So we shall study one by one. First, we shall study LVM based remote replication, that is logical volume manager based remote replication. So LVM based remote replication is performed and managed at the volume group level. So writes to the source volumes are transmitted to the remote host by the LVM. The LVM on the remote host receives the writes and commits them to the remote volume group. So prior to the starting of the replication, identical volume groups, logical volumes, and file systems are created at the source and the target sites. So initial synchronization of the data between the source and the replica will be performed. Okay. So and then one method to perform this synchronization is to back up the source data and restore that data into the remote replica. So the data in the source and the replica should be consistent. So in order to do this, what we have to do, whatever the data is present in the source, that have to be backed up and it should be restored at the remote replica. Then we can say that both are in synchronization. So or else we have one more option, that is it can be performed by the replication over the IP network. Either you take backup and restore, or else replicate the data over the IP network. So until the completion of initial synchronization, production work on the source volumes is typically halted because we want to maintain synchronization between the host and the replica. So until this synchronization is attained, the production work on the source volumes will be halted, or you can say it is paused. So after the initial synchronization, production work can be started on the source volumes, and then replication of the data can be performed over an existing standard IP network. Okay, so let us see in the figure. It shows LVM based remote replication. We have production host and then we have remote host. Both are connected through a standard IP network. Okay, in the production host we have LV1, LV2, LV3, LV4. Same way in the remote host also we have LV1, LV2, LV3 and LV4. You can see the data that is there on these LVs on the production host is same as in the remote host. So the LVM based remote replication, it supports both synchronous as well as asynchronous modes of replication. So if a failure occurs at the source site, applications can be restarted on the remote host using the data on the remote replicas. So LVM based remote replication is independent of the storage arrays, and therefore it supports replication between the heterogeneous storage arrays also. Next we shall study host based log shipping. So database replication via log shipping is a host based replication technology supported by most of the databases. So transactions to the source database are captured in logs, which are periodically transmitted by the source host to the remote host. You can see in the figure, the remote host receives the logs and applies them to the remote database. You can see in the figure, we have production host as well as remote host. So the whatever operations are happening in the source database are captured. Okay, so the logs of all those transactions are captured, and that log is transmitted to the remote host, and then using this log, this log will be applied to all the databases that are running in the remote site. So once the logs are applied, then the database becomes consistent. Okay, so prior to the starting of the production work and replication of log files, all the relevant components of the source database are replicated to the remote site. So this is done while the source database is shut down. Again, here also, until the logs are applied to the remote site, the source will be shut down. Okay, so first we need to make the database consistent in both the sites. Okay, that is the source site and the at the remote site. So and then we can start the replication of the data. So after this step, the production work is started on the source database. So therefore the remote database is started in a standby mode. So initially, once this is done, the production work will be started at the source database, and then remote will be started in a standby mode. So typically in standby mode, the database is not available for the transaction. So this will be started, but it will be in the standby mode. So in that case, it will not be available for any of the transactions. So all the DBMS switch log files at a pre-configured time interval for or when a log file is full. So it will switch to the other log files that are pre-configured at time intervals, or when one log file becomes full, it will switch to another log file. So the current log file will be closed at the time of log switching, and the new log file will be opened. So when a log switch occurs, the closed log file is transmitted by the source host to the remote host. So the remote host receives the logs and updates the standby databases. So when a log switch occurs, the closed log file will be transmitted to the source from the host to the remote site. Okay, source host to the remote host, and then this remote host will receive the logs and updates the standby database. Since it was in a standby mode, it is called as a standby database. So this process ensures that the standby database is consistent up to the last committed log. Okay, commit is what, when you're writing DBMS queries, you write some statements and at the end you write one statement called as commit. So what this commit will do, so whatever the changes you are going to do to the database with the help of that particular query, suppose you are updating any information in a student database, you're updating his marks, you assume. Okay, so you write some update statement which is going to update the marks of a student. Okay, after that, within the same query you'll be writing at the last one statement called as commit. So what this commit will do, this commit will store that changes whatever you are doing to the database permanently to your secondary storage. So that is the meaning of commit. Okay, so in case of this, that is host based log shipping, what happens, this process is going to ensure that the standby database will be consistent up to the last committed log. So the last committed log is nothing but that data is going to be stored permanently. So with the help of this process, we can make sure that the database will be consistent up to the last committed log. So RPO at the remote site will be finite, and it depends on the size of the log and the frequency of log switching. So available network bandwidth, latency, and rate of updates to the source database and the frequency of log switching should be considered when determining the optimal size of the log file. So what all we are going to consider? We are going to consider updates on the source database, frequency of log switching, bandwidth, latency. These are all the things that are going to be considered in case of finding or determining the optimal size of the log file. So similar to LVM based remote replication, the existing standard IP network can be used for replicating the log files. Again, the log is also transmitted through the IP network, standard IP network. So host based log shipping requires low network bandwidth because it transmits only the log files at regular intervals. We are not going to send this entire database every time. We are going to just transmit the log files, that too at the regular time intervals. That is why the traffic on the network will be less. Next we shall study storage array based remote replication. In storage array based remote replication, the array operating environment and resources perform and manage the data replication. So this relieves the burden on the host CPU, which can be better used for applications running on the host. So a source and its replica device reside on different storage arrays. So data can be transmitted from the source storage array to the target storage array over a shared or a dedicated network. So the replication between the arrays may be performed in synchronous or asynchronous or in disk buffered modes. So let us study all three modes in detail. First, we shall study synchronous replication mode. So in array-based synchronous remote application, writes must be committed to the source and then the target prior to the acknowledging write complete. So what we have to do, write should be committed first to the source and then the target before acknowledging that the write complete to the production host. Okay, so additional writes on that source cannot occur until each preceding write has been completed and acknowledged. You can see in the figure, it shows array based synchronous remote replication process. So there are four steps occurring. We have the source site and then the remote site. So in the source site, we have production host as well as source storage array. And on the remote side, we have remote storage array and then the remote host. So step one is write from the production host is received by the source storage array. Okay, so write from the production host will be received by the source storage array, and then this write is then transmitted to the remote storage array. Okay, then third step is acknowledgement is sent to the source storage array by the remote storage array. And then at last, fourth step, source storage array signals write completion to the production host. After these four steps takes place, it is one complete write operation to the production host. Okay, in case of synchronous remote application, uh, to optimize the replication process and to minimize the impact on application response time, the write is placed on the cache of the two arrays. Okay, just to minimize the impact on the application response time, cache will be placed in two arrays. Okay, so and that write is going to happen onto the cache. Okay, so the write will be placed on the cache of the two arrays. The intelligent storage arrays destage these writes to the appropriate disks later. So if the network link fails, replication is suspended. However, production work can continue uninterrupted on the source array. Okay, so the array operating environment keeps track of the writes that are not transmitted to the remote storage array. So when the network links are restored, the accumulated data will be transmitted to the remote storage array. So during the time of network link outage, if there is any failure at the source side, some of the data will be lost. Okay, and the RPO at the target will not be 0 at that time. So this is about synchronous replication mode. Now we have asynchronous replication mode. In array-based asynchronous remote replication mode, as shown in the figure, a write is committed to the source and immediately acknowledged to the host. So data is buffered at the source and transmitted to the remote site later. So the source and the target devices do not contain identical data at all the times. So the data on the target device will be little behind that of the than that of the storage. So the RPO in this case will not be 0. Okay. So let us see what are the steps that are taking place in asynchronous remote replication. So first, again we have storage site as well as the remote site. Storage site contains production host and the source storage array. At the remote site, we have remote storage array and the remote host. So in the first step, the production host writes to the source storage array, and then immediately the source array will acknowledge to the production host about this. So that is 2. In step 1, production host writes the write to the source storage array. In this step 2, the source array will immediately acknowledge the production host. In third step, these writes are then transmitted to the target array. Okay, that is step number 3. And step number 4, after the writes are received by the target array, it sends an acknowledgement to the source array. Okay, once the writes are received by the target storage, again that target storage array will also send an acknowledgement to the source storage array. Similar to synchronous replication, asynchronous replication writes are placed on cache in 2 arrays, and later they are destaged to the appropriate disk. So some of the implementations of asynchronous remote replication maintain writes ordering. Okay, so a timestamp and sequence number are attached to each write when it is received by the source. Writes are then transmitted to the remote array, where they are committed to the remote replica in the exact order in which they were buffered at the source. This will implicitly guarantee the consistency of the data on the remote replicas. So other implementations ensure consistency by leveraging the dependent write principle inherent in most DBMS. So in case of asynchronous remote replication, the writes are buffered for a predefined period of time. So at the end of this duration, the buffer will be closed and a new buffer will be opened for subsequent writes. So all the writes in the closed buffer are transmitted together and committed to the remote replica. This is about asynchronous remote replication mode. Next, we have disk buffered replication mode. Disk buffered replication is a combination of local and remote replication technologies. A consistent point-in-time local replica of the source device is first created. This is then replicated to a remote replica on the target array. So in the figure 12.9, it shows a sequence of operations in a disk buffered remote replication. At the beginning of the cycle, the network links between the two arrays are suspended and there is no transmission of data. So while the production application runs on the source device, a consistent point-in-time local replica of the source device is created. So the network links are enabled and the data on the local replica in the source array transmits to its remote replica in the target array. After synchronization of this pair, the network link is suspended and the next local replica of the source is created. Optionally, a local point-in-time replica of the remote device on the target array can also be created. So the frequency of this cycle of operation depends on the available link bandwidth and the data change rate on the source device. Because disk buffer technology uses a local replication, changes made to the source and its replica are possible to track. Therefore, all the resynchronization operations between the source and the target can be done incrementally. So when compared to synchronous and asynchronous replications, disk buffered remote replication requires less bandwidth. So let us see the steps that are happening at the disk buffered remote replication. So there are 4 main steps. We have production host, then the source storage array and the target storage array. In the step 1, the production host writes data to the source device. Okay, so production host will be writing data to its source storage device. And then next in the step 2, a consistent point-in-time copy, that is local replica of the source device, is going to be created. So we have the same copy of data, okay, which is in the form of point-in-time local replica. So that is going to be created. Okay, So first one is the source device and the second one we have the local replica. In the step 3, data from the local replica in the source array is transmitted to its remote replica in the target array. So this local replica data will be transmitted to its remote local replica in the target array. In the fourth point or the fourth step, optionally a local point in time replica of the remote device on the target array is created. Okay, so what happens? Production host will send data or it will perform a write to the source device, and then that write local replica of that particular write is created within the source storage array, and this local replica is transmitted to the remote replica, and if optionally a point in time replica of this remote device on the target array is going to be created. Okay, so this is about disk buffered replication mode. Now we shall study network based remote replication. So again, in network based remote replication, the replication occurs at the network layer between the host and the storage array. So continuous data protection technology that we have already studied in the local replication, that also provides solutions for the network based remote replication. Okay, so same technology we are going to use in remote replication too. Okay, so let us study what is CDP remote replication. So in normal operation, CDP remote replication provides any point in time recovery capability which enables the target LUNs to be rolled back to any previous point in time. So similar to CDP local replication, CDP remote replication typically uses a journal volume CDP appliance or a CDP software installed in a separate host, that is called as host based CDP, and a write splitter to perform the replication between the sites. So the CDP appliance is maintained at both source and remote sites. So in the figure it describes CDP remote replication. So in this method the replica is synchronized with the source and then the replication process starts. So after the replication starts, all the writes from the host to the source are split into two copies. One of the copies is sent to local CDP appliance at the source side and the other copy is sent to the production volume. So after receiving the write, the appliance at the source site sends it to the appliance at the remote site. Then the write is applied to the journal volume at the remote site. For an asynchronous operation, writes at the source CDP appliance are accumulated and redundant blocks are eliminated. Then the writes are sequenced and stored with their corresponding timestamp. So the data is then compressed and a checksum is generated. So it is then scheduled for delivery across the IP or FC network to the remote CDP appliance. So after the data is received, the remote appliance verifies the checksum to ensure the integrity of the data. The data is then uncompressed and returned to the remote journal volume. So as the next step, data from the journal volume is sent to the replica at a predefined intervals. Okay. So in the figure you can see we have source storage array and the remote storage array. In this source storage array we have production volume which is connected to local CDP appliance through storage area networks, and then the host is also connected to storage through storage area networks, and then this local CDP appliance is connected to remote CDP appliance with the help of a SAN or WAN. Okay, a write splitter is installed on the host, so which is going to perform this replication process. Okay, so in case of remote storage array we have a CDP journal and then a remote replica. So the data from the remote CDP appliance is coming to the CDP journal, and which is then moved to the this data will be moved to the local replica within the storage array at a predefined time intervals. Okay, so in the asynchronous mode, the local CDP appliance is instantly acknowledges the write as soon as it is received. Okay, that is in asynchronous. But in case of synchronous replication mode, the host application waits for an acknowledgement from the CDP appliance at the remote site before initiating the next write. So in the synchronous replication mode impacts the application's performance under heavy write loads. So this is about network based remote replication. In this video we have covered the major remote replication technologies. Thank you for watching.